Hello again, all my beautiful individuals out there. On this channel I don't talk about anime, but I'm going to use anime to try and explain a point in this video. America these days is really divided into basically two groups, and we can talk about what maybe those two groups are, what defines them. But really, I think the best way to describe what defines these two groups is this way of viewing America. This viewing of America involves the view of America in the past, the view of America currently, and thus what the view of America will be in the future, what people perceive America's future to be. Anime is it's basically cartoons. They're cartoons from Japan. And there was a pretty successful, pretty famous anime called Yu Hakusho. If you haven't ever seen it and you like anime, you're missing out, friend. But in this show, Yu Hakusho, there was a particular season or saga where there was a villain by the name of Sensui. This villain named Sensui basically is kind of like a cult leader. He grabs some people who are easily to manipulate. He gets in their mind, changes how they view the world, and uses them as puppets for his own agenda. Now, the good guy of the show, a young man by the name of Yusuke Urameshi, he's in the anime, in the show, he's what's called a spirit detective. He's kind of like a sheriff / investigator, kind of from like heaven. He's from a spirit world. Okay, so another, like a higher plane where ghosts go to figure out if they're going to go to heaven or hell, basically. And it's young Yusuke Urameshi's job to solve problems here on the earth that involve like demons and stuff. Now, Yusuke isn't paid for his work, so I don't know if employer is the right term, but his employers, the people of Spirit World, a young guy named Koenma, they obviously monitor the earth, and this is an old show, so they didn't even have DVDs. They had VHS tapes back when this show was relevant. It's like, I think, late 80s into the 90s. But anyway, in Spirit World, these heavenly angel god kind of people, they have been monitoring humanity since the beginning of history, and apparently will do it until the end of time. And they have this magical, I guess, VHS tape. They have this magical VCR that has been recording all of the events throughout human history, and this kind of plays a role in judging people if they've been good or bad. With all of the accumulated footage of humanity, Spirit World has essentially compiled two specific groups, two specific volumes, two specific VHS tapes. And one is called the Chapter Black tape. Now, the villain of this particular saga or this series in the show, the man named Sensui, he happens to get his hands on the Chapter Black tape. He steals it, and he uses the Chapter Black tape as propaganda to brainwash his servants. The Chapter Black tape is said to be this VHS tape that goes on for thousands and thousands of hours. And on this tape are essentially, I guess you could kind of imagine it like live footage. It's spiritual footage of all of the worst, most heinous, evil, selfish, vile acts that humanity has ever carried out since the beginning of humanity. The villain, Sensui, takes this tape, shows it to his pawns, brainwashes them, and makes them hate humanity. They become misanthropists. They want humanity to fall. They see humanity as this evil, vile thing, this disease, this plague, this thing that is worthy of only one thing: destruction. It needs to be destroyed because humanity offers nothing good. Now, the employer of the hero, the main character, this Koenma, he's like the underling leader of the spirit world. He explains to the hero, and thus the viewers who are watching, that the chapter black tape is never meant to be watched by itself. This tape, the chapter black tape that shows all the most evil things of humanity, is not supposed to be viewed by itself because there is apparently another one. Now, the show never goes into the specifics of it, but we can certainly conclude that it would be, I guess, the chapter white tape. And what would be on it? Well, assumingly, it will be all of the greatest, most beautiful, loving, wholesome, selfless, righteous deeds that humanity has ever done since the beginning of time. The chapter black tape is just endless examples of how humanity is the worst thing ever, and it's so vile. And then the chapter white tape would be this endless display of all of the greatest things humanity's ever done, to show that humanity is something super great and is just so perfect that it's beyond just protecting. It must be practically worshipped. It's the greatest thing ever. This boss guy over the main character explains that the two must be watched back to back or together. This gives a balanced understanding of the entirety of the human experience and capabilities. So basically what this spirit world was trying to do was document how bad humanity could be, but also how good humanity could be. And with those two together, you can see what the potential of this species or culture or community, whatever, this civilization is capable of. As I said, the villain, Sensui, shows the black tape, the chapter black tape, to his puppets and brainwashes them into hating humanity and seeing only the worst in the world. Now, it doesn't ever show it in the show. There's never any type of series talking about it, but you can certainly conclude, you can theorize that someone similar to Sensui, the villain, could have taken the chapter white tape and done the same thing. If you take the chapter black tape off the table and you show people only the chapter white tape, you can see how you could brainwash people still using it, but instead of mindlessly hating humanity and thinking that humanity is, horrible and can do no right, if someone saw, weeks and weeks of just endless footage of all these great things that humanity has done, you could brainwash people into thinking that humanity is perfect, that humanity can do no wrong, but it's just the greatest thing ever. And you could use that to create kind of like this, it's kind of like a stereotype, like the just super happy, smiley cultists who are all like, yes, brother, come, let's be at peace together. And this, you usually have them doing like vile things like butchering people and stuff, but they're still smiling and it makes it extra creepy or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, the point is, you can still brainwash somebody with the good tape, the chapter white tape, in theory. This brings us to America and this divide in our population. America is not necessarily divided by schools of thought and ideology. A lot of people like to say one group is liberal and the other group is conservative. I'm not going to go into that in this video, because really the country is divided into gangs. The country is divided into political parties that have nothing to do with political ideologies. They're just two gangs fighting over power. The big issue with these two gangs, these political parties, the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, is this groupthink, this peer pressure indoctrination that goes along with joining either faction. In comparison to the anime show Yu Hakusho, it's as if the Democrat Party has access to the chapter black tape. It's as if the Democrat Party has the chapter black tape and is brainwashing and indoctrinating all of their voters and supporters. But instead of showing all of the most vile and evil things that humanity, the whole world, has done, it's this obsession with all the vile and bad things that America has done. It's as if the Democrat Party is just obsessed, is fixated on every shortcoming, every failure, every mistake or bad choice that America has ever done. And they use this to just beat their voters and supporters over the head with. The Democrat voters and supporters can only see the bad about America. But then on the flip side, you have the Republican Party. And it's as if the Republican Party has the chapter white tape, if you will. But instead of documenting all the greatest, most beautiful, wholesome things of all of humanity, it's a documentation of all of the greatest things that America has ever done. It's this fixation, this obsession with everything that America has ever done that was good, that was exceptional, that went above and beyond as an inspiration and a true display of what is good and what is noble and honorable. And with this, it's like the Republican Party is brainwashing. It is re-educating their supporters, their voters, into thinking that America can do no wrong. All they have seen is just endless displays of all that is good about America. They are completely blind, they're completely deaf to anything that is negative about America. And so they think that America can do no wrong, that it is absolutely perfect, that nothing could ever be changed to make it better. This goes back to what that leader character, that boss, the main character of that anime says. You can't watch one of these tapes by themselves. You get a distorted perception of reality. It's not right. It's not a true account of, well, in the show, the human condition, but in this case, in this example, it gives you a false representation of what America is and America was in the past. If all you see is everything bad about America and you don't get to see anything good, then obviously you're going to think America is this horrible thing and that everywhere else around the world is just doing great and they're just, the world's just having a great time. Meanwhile, America's the worst place on the planet. Or if all you're seeing is the good stuff, and you're being denied all of the bad things, and all you're seeing is just everything that has ever been good, every achievement, every victory that America has, then you're going to think that America is the greatest place on earth and that everywhere else is probably horrible. But, what matters is here in America where everything is perfect and we don't need to change anything. I think the ultimate way to try and resolve the tensions in America, in our current climate, in our current generation, is we have to get people associated with the Democrat Party to acknowledge the good things that have happened in America's past and the good things associated with America today. And at the same time, we have to get the Republican Party, the Republican voters and supporters to acknowledge the bad things in America's past and the bad things about America today. This extreme black and white mindset of America is the worst place on earth versus America is the greatest place on earth is what's causing the clash. Americans need to stop thinking we're living in a utopia. And at the same time, Americans need to stop thinking that we're living in some dystopia. Americans need to understand that if something isn't broken, there's no reason to try and fix it. However, even if something is not broken, that doesn't mean that you can't create something that's even better. If you want a better house, that's fine. Start building a better house. But don't dismantle. Don't destroy the house you're currently living in because you plan to build a new one. Build the new one first. Once you have a new place to move into, then you can tear down the old one. If you say that you want to, live off the land and only eat food that's grown in your garden, that's fine, go for it, But you have to understand that until that food is growing in large quantities on your property, you can't just throw out all the food in the kitchen. You can't just, swear off going to the grocery store to buy food. You've got to get your garden up and running. You've got to get it flourishing so that when you have no mass-produced food in the kitchen anymore and you don't go to the grocery store anymore, you have plenty of food on your property to survive. You can't just say, all right, I'm going to live off the garden now, throw all the food in your house away, and then go out there and start breaking soil to start making your garden. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it entertaining, maybe educational, maybe somewhere in between. Be sure to hit the like button or the dislike button. If you got something to say, drop it in the comments. And yeah, later.